What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Real Talk NFTs, where we talk all things Web3, crypto, blockchain, you name it, we got it here. You guys know my co-host Brian, and super excited today to have my neighbor is actually pretty close to me, Ryan Lee, the co-founder of Cyber. Ryan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, super excited to have you on here. We don't get the opportunity to talk to L2s much, but super excited to talk about Cyber and everything you're doing there. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background?
Yes. So I'm Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders at Cyber, previously known as Cyber Connect. I was coming out of engineering background, did my undergrad at Berkeley, where I really discovered a lot of the stuff in crypto back in 2014 with the Bitcoin's early days and Coinbase stuff. Later on, my good buddy of mine co-founded the blockchain Berkeley, which is still one of the best clubs in the US for college crypto related stuff. 2017, I was working at Instagram, and then I kind of rediscovered the crypto part of not just Bitcoin or not just trading. There are some interesting applications being built on blockchains where it's more like the apps. So that's when I got full time into building in the crypto space, where I built a company called DLive and Lido Network, which is a chain and an app that supported 100,000 streamers, including the world's largest YouTuber, PewDiePie,
Oh, nice.
live streaming on top of a chain that we built within the Cosmos ecosystem, which was super fun. The entire process got me to really think about how decentralized social or decentralized creator platforms can really benefit the creators, or really is a very different approach than what I did at Instagram, but actually worked even better. And 2021 was when we started Cyber. So DLive was acquired by BitTorrent, and then that kind of led me back into building again. And Cyber, and back at the time was called Cyber Connect. It was a social graph protocol, and Cyber now is more like a social a developer platform for social, focusing mostly on an L2. We raised 25 million for Cyber since 2021, and now we've been doing this for 3 years, helping developers building social applications, and we built our own social applications on top as well. So supporting creators, supporting users, and supporting developers.
Nice. We are, looking to, we're on social all the time, and super excited to hear about Cyber, but also DLive and PewDiePie. I mean, PewDiePie was the largest streamer. That's amazing. And what's the learning lessons there that you took and said, "Wow, crypto really applies here, and we could weave it into like an L2." What was the thought process behind that?
Right. I think there are a couple epiphany moments for me. One is when I was working at Instagram. Most of the job was to one is try to, of course, bring Instagram to a lot of users that are not really well received already, like bring them to third world countries. But another part is like really how can we censor creators? A big part of it was censoring creators, because a lot of the creators were not really high quality, or like they're not really helping the platform to make money on the ads front. That got me really thinking. And plus at the time, 2018, 2017 was a lot of the YouTubers and Twitch streamers were getting this deplatformed, were getting banned for just violating whatever, right? Like there's not really clear cuts. So a lot of platform risk at the time. And when we found DLive, we found when we talked to PewDiePie, he was like super into the idea of owning a platform rather than being like not even an employee of YouTube, right? Like he was the largest YouTuber, but like he was not even an employee. He was not getting any directly benefit. But he got canceled by Disney. He got canceled kind of by YouTube as well. So he wanted to be part of a platform. He wanted to own that platform, becoming part of the owners, and that really hit it hard for us to build platforms for creators. And then the monetization model is so different, where most of the traditional platforms are taking 70 to 90% of the cuts from the creators, whereas crypto, you can enable a much more efficient way of distributing value. And given those, let's say if we make the cut down to 10%, that's like 5 to 10x the earnings for creators. Those were the biggest lessons that we learned. And coming back to Cyber, right? Like, what can we do differently this time around? When we were building DLive, we had to build like our own chain, because like the chains are not really high TPS or like fast enough, powerful enough. We had to build our own on ramp. Like people still have to buy like kind of donate through like Apple in-app purchase or like PayPal. Those were kind of getting figured out by the industry as a whole. So cyber for us, like we want to enable developers to build another creator platform, another social app that's on crypto rail, high TPS and low friction, easier onboarding for users, Web2 like experience. So cyber is entirely focused on helping developers to build those experiences and helping them to be successful onboarding those users and creators.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously, a high TPS and really ultra low fees are ideal for a layer two at the end of the day. But specifically with really, it's critical for social applications. You kind of like touch base why that's like so imperative with social applications and why that's a benefit.
Yeah, like if you are looking at current Web3 apps, it's still dominated by either speculative ones for trading or yield generation, right? Every transaction kind of is worth theoretically a lot in return, right? It could be like a trade that you make. It could be a yield that you put your ETH into. So users are pretty used to paying like $5 or $10 on ETH mainnet to make that transaction. But for any social applications or anything, you want a lot of transactions to happen between you and a creator or within a community, right? You want to like a post, you want to repost something, or you want to donate to a creator. When you donate, you don't want to donate $5 and then pay $10 for the transaction fee, right? So ultra low fee plus high TPS makes it like really fundamental for any kind of application to be any kind of Web2 experience to happen in Web3. Imagine like you've all seen this before, right? With the NFT mints, the entire chain gets like so congested that nothing goes through unless you pay like $50. That really needs to be solved before we can really build anything that's useful. So that's why the high TPS and ultra low fees. I can definitely dive into the other features that we have for developers to build successful social apps on top. But I think we can start from there.
Yeah, maybe before we even dive into the technical side of how you're different, speak on the current state of social media creators on Web3. I know a lot of people got canceled for trying to do something on YouTube, with a DAO. A lot of influencers were involved, and they kind of take a step back there. But like you were saying, it's useful, right? Like, you know, just rev share alone, that's useful, and just demonetization alone, that's useful for creators who spend their hard money and time and tears on what they're doing. So, but how's it right now? Like, where are we on the chain? I know we're early over on Web3, but yeah, what's kind of like the things that will move the needle? What are people liking? You've been in the space for 3 years developing, so what are you seeing out there?
Right. Well, I've been in this space for 7 years. Been building
I'm
cyber.
sorry. Cyber has been around for 3 years.
3 years. Right. Well, we'll have to say cyber is trying to make Web3 more social. A couple ways to understand this is we see a lot of interesting things happen in Web3 or crypto. Like DeFi's are really interesting. A lot of the composable Legos are interesting. You own your own data is interesting. But also there's a lot of Web2 apps that are really not Web3 yet, or like there's a big gap of what I use on a day-to-day basis versus what I can see happening, like innovation happening in the Web3 space. So we're trying to bridge that gap in two ways. Like we're making Web3 more social, meaning that we are seeing new developers building next generation of Web3 social apps, right? They're natively better economic models, let's say better version of YouTube, better version of TikTok, and that really greatly benefits the creators and have that virtuous cycle where creators can earn more, where they have more motivation of building full time, and developers can build on a platform that is not centralized the control, where they can trust the platform can live on forever and with the API access and whatever. So developers can have innovation really piled into and invested into a Web3 social network. And we're seeing that starting to happen with very new new Web3 apps, Web3 social apps coming out, right? With the bounding curve kind of really interesting. And then there are a lot of the NFT mens, right? You guys are probably very into the NFT part of the world, and a lot of the NFT mens for creators, the artists are really, some of them are hitting that like really key turning points. The other part of it is like, how can we incorporate more social features into Web3 apps? We've all been in Web3 more like a solo mode, right? Like you hunt down your own NFTs to trade, or like tokens to trade, or investments and whatever. But it was never like, how can we do this more in a community way, or how can we bring that Web2 experience into those contexts, right? Like think about how like a Venmo for trading, where you can see your friends actually what are they speculating into, or just having more social features around what we're doing in Web3 can kind of bridge the gap between the real world and the crypto world. And I think that's what Cyber is trying to do, making Web3 more social, or more real world.
Yeah, that's awesome, and definitely love to see the path you're going with there. I'm really curious about like some of the unique tools and features Cyber's offers to developers that are building social apps. I saw on like your website, just something that I think it was your website. Something that stuck out to me was just seedless wallets, just because 12 words, 24 words on a piece of paper, or stamped into a piece of steel and buried in your backyard is always challenging to get across to like normies almost. So if you wouldn't mind just touch a base about the tools and features, and specifically the seedless wallets.
Of course, yeah, we're so proud of what we're building over there too. Well, like, one, to take a step back, right? Like, how can you teach someone, like one of your friend who hates crypto? How can you teach him or her like onboard to crypto? Like you gotta download MetaMask on Chrome or on a mobile device. Or could sign up, get that 12, 24 word down somewhere. Like implicitly, they might have like a password manager. That's great, where they maybe can safely store that, or at least on a piece of paper, I just said, on a piece of metal, or like hardware wallets, like a lot of options, but also most of them don't really work intuitively, at least. We've seen that, and one big innovation that we're pushing hard is called account abstraction. It's one of the main ERC EIPs being pushed out last year with by Vitalik. It's 4337. That means users don't really need to know what is an account, like how does it transact. It doesn't really tie yourself into like a C phrase necessarily. Like you're not really always going to need that C phrase forever, or if you lose it, you lose everything. Also, you don't really need to know what's going on with the transaction, like paying the gas. Like most of the time, it's the developers or the chains can sponsor those gas for you, or even, well, think about it, right? Like you need the C phrase, but then like where do you get the ease to make your first transaction? Or like if you have a friend that you send him or her like USDC for something that you, whatever, like for whatever reason, you send them a USDC, but they figured out like you can't even use USDC to make a transaction. You have to use ETH, right? Those are the frictions we're trying to solve with the 4337 in general. And for us, Cyber, last year we built out a wallet which is called Cyber Wallet. We have so far 2 million users out there. Is one of the largest account abstraction wallets on any chain. Any users can directly onboard without really writing down any C phrases. It's entirely non-custodial. They don't have to have gas. Someone can pay for that gas for them. So their first transaction can be immediate. They just need to use whatever biometrics. So we focus a lot on passkeys or Face ID most of the time to enable users to sign up and log into a wallet, and without paying any gas, they can make their first transaction. We're launching a new version of a wallet very soon that's entirely powering Cyber developers, where they don't really need to ask their users to do that, right? Like sign up, create your own wallet, or like import your passkey or bridge some ETH. We'll do that all for the developers, and they can just focus on how to build a great app.
What are some good apps that you guys are working with? I see you guys doing grants out there, incubating projects.
Right.
And what's some good use cases or maybe some idealistic ones that you may have that you want to see right now in Web3?
Well, there are, I would say, there are three types of apps I'm super interested in. One is really Web3 native, a strong focus on verification. We built an app called Link3. We built it 2 years ago. It's been running the last 2.5 years. It's like a Web3 version of a LinkedIn plus Linktree.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely verified. Users verify through their work email plus their wallets. They mint their verification on chain so that no one needs to trust us that we're like saying who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They can all verify on chain. We have about 3,000 to 4,000 organizations using it, including like
Nice.
Multicoin, the VCs, or including Optimism, Arbitrum, CoinMarketCap, all the large crypto projects natively. And they verify their employees as well, so that you will know you're talking when you're doing like calls with someone that you met on Twitter. You know you're actually talking to the real person instead of someone who's just repping, like having that whatever link in their bio saying that they are part of this big org. So that is one use case we have a strong conviction on, like being verifiable identities, or having those genuine connections, laying the foundation for building anything on top. So now we're building on top where you can do paid DMs, you can reach out to creators or KOLs or influencers, or you can reach out to other projects more reliably, knowing that the people who reach out to you is actually a legit person. And that's one thing. And the other two I'm really excited about. One is more on the creator front. So we're working with a couple creator platforms, one called Pods, and a lot of similar ones. They just help creators launch NFTs on chain and generate revenues on chain, becoming viral on chain. And that's it. And I think they're making, a lot of the podcast creators are making way more revenue in a single
Mm-hmm.
pod than they would make in a whole year on Web2.
Wow.
And the last one is just really kind of merging more of the Web2 stuff directly with some Web3 features. We have one app that we not really incubated, but it's from our first season of Grant. They are they're called XO. They're more like a dating app based out of Taiwan. They have decent revenue already, but now they're making the entire stack on chain on
Nice.
Cyber, and users can directly pay each other. Like if you want to really talk to someone you don't know, that paid message or like that first outreach can be monetized easily through on-chain transactions, and you can know the other person is legit again through minting SBTs or minting like credentials to them. So they were seeing really innovative ideas on the different fronts, and I'm super excited about the development on Cyber.
That sounds really cool. Like every app you talked about, I feel that we as a podcast should be utilizing those things, number one, except for the dating app. I'm married, Brian's married. But when I was dating, I was using Coffee Meets Bagel. You could purchase like bagels and tokens too, so it does make sense to verify it. So you could kind of, integrate Link3 into that dating app and verify that it's a real person. But that sounds really cool. Like, it seems like the use case is there, right? The MVP is there, right? To make it more efficient. But for creators, just earning more money on a podcast, you can have a smaller audience, I've heard, right? But because the revenue split so much better, you don't need the same audience to make the same return. Yeah. So I'm preaching to the choir here. I have a question, but I'll let Brian jump in before I ask my long-winded question.
Oh, yeah. I just have one question, and this might be a little off subject, but just from like the macro overview of like ETH L2s. I mean, we have like Optimism, Base, Blast, ZK, Polygon, could probably go on, and they all seem to kind of have found their own niche in some form or fashion, or at least a little bit. Like Blast, for instance, Pac-Man's over there saying it's like the DGen chain, and like really scoping for like GambleFi and gaming, and Mutables big into gaming, and some experience with Polygons big into gaming. How do you foresee just ETH L2s in the future? Do you think one's just going to rise to the top and kind of take over? Or do you think there's going to be just several different chains that just work in specific niches? I'm curious how this whole world's going to shake out down the line. And on top of that, where you think Cyber's going to fit in?
Right. Before we started Cyber, we knew that we had the kind of for like the conviction that L2s there will be a lot of L2s, and we're seeing like hundreds of L2s coming live. We see that most of them will either fail or they find a niche, right? As you said, you have to become like an L2 for something. Like it's for DGen, for DeFi, for NFTs maybe, like or for the culture, for North America, maybe for base. Like right, you gotta find some kind of niche either in the interest groups or in the like your likely some geolocation, because it's still tied to some on-ramp, off-ramp exchanges and stuff. For Cyber, we are L2 for social. It's very easy and obvious that we focus entire effort on building new experiences, as I said, either next generation of new Web3 social experiences or like incorporating a lot of the social elements into existing experiences of the Web3 world already has. Very different than like we're just not going to focus our, let's say, incentives on getting more TVLs or incentives on getting more people to gamble, right? It's going to be very different. We are very focused on the ecosystem projects that we have a strong conviction of succeeding, and in a way that if for a developer to choose between L2s, they want to. It's like where do you want? Every L2 is like a city. Like where do you want to spend your time building your career there? It depends on like how much resource you can get, like how many users there are, what's the ceiling, or like what's the financial kind of outlook for building a successful career or successful projects on that chain would look like. And all those combined, I think the things that we do best, one is we are very hands-on with the ecosystem project that we support, with the grants, with the investment that we do, and also with just helping them distribute, finding the first group of users. We have a really strong community. And second is we are very collaborative with the superchain ecosystem. So Cyber is part of OP superchain, meaning that down the line, you can look at Cyber less of a chain of itself, but like more of like a city of part of the big nation, the super chain ecosystem. So every user on Cyber will enjoy the same liquidity that they would see on OP or on Base, and every user that onboarded through Cyber can also tap into OP and Base, leveraging or like taking their NFTs on Cyber or their social data on Cyber to those ecosystems. That's like the dream, maybe like a year from now.
That's great. I think L2s, at least for non-native Web two folks coming on Web3, will enjoy the low fees. Number one, but as a person that's been in crypto, and then we're really seeing L2s on Ethereum pop off. So that's good. That's good to see. I have a comment, and then which will probably lead into a question. And you're probably the right person to ask this question to, because you worked at Instagram. I've asked this question to many people that's come on our podcast, but I was always curious why they sunsetted their their NFT, kind of project, right? I always saw it as something that would help Instagram versus hurt it. And it's very unique use cases for Instagram that can be implemented. Like, for example, The Rock or Ronaldo has hundreds of millions of followers, right? Like, who wouldn't want to buy one of their posts as an NFT, whether it be a one of one or one of 1,000? That would drive so much value for the community and engagement, and for whoever is creating that. So that's a comment that I have. I really wish to see that. And I guess the question there is, are you having those conversations? Since you used to work at Instagram, number one, and if not Instagram, who are you having those conversations with, if at all, in Silicon Valley? Are you talking to people, brands, and looking to help them, move some of their, the targets onto like a Web3 platform, or the big brands are like, you know what, let's talk about that 2 years down the road. Let's kick that can down the road. How's that been? Because we know it's been kind of up and down as of late.
That's a great question, and also like I think having Instagram support more like creator-centric tools, including NFTs or more as we discover, right, would be awesome. well, personally, when I was there, the NFT wasn't even around, so I don't know the decision particularly why they dropped NFT support. Uh, One comment I can give is like Instagram at this size. Even when I joined, when I was there, they're mostly more conservative, so they want to build things that they know it's going to work, right? So my one of my big project was to build the story, which is almost exactly the same as Snapchat. Like they don't really lean into, oh, let's build something entirely new at that point, and I think that's kind of still the case. But taking a step back is creating something. So anything that's like really on the crypto rail is very disruptive to the traditional platforms, right? Like if you are already able to help them distribute and you are able to control that payment stack and take whatever fee you want, why would you want to do anything that kind of gets you eliminated or like, right? Like for Instagram to entirely embrace NFTs, they gotta work with maybe Apple to help to like work on the payments. Not even Apple, but like all the payment processes as well. They have to like figure out, well, that NFT, does that only live on our own chain or our own like internal database, or if it lives on like Ethereum, well, what if it just gets to like OpenSea or like goes to other NFT platforms that we cannot control? That's what I would foresee the big platforms would not want to get into those, and it's kind of against their own interest as well. If they already have the distribution and if they can already extract those value from the users directly and take a massive cut, they would not want to do that. Well, on the other side, I've talked to a lot of different projects and teams. I think the most like people who are really interested in launching something more native crypto or Web3 are the creators. Like they are really, really interested. They don't know exactly how. They always follow what other creators are doing or what this platform is blowing up is doing. They don't know exactly how, but they are really interested just because they're, as I said, their like financials are not like they have way more power than they have shown in their yearly revenue or profits. They have way more power than that. So for them to build a brand of themselves or build a product of themselves makes really a lot more sense than entirely relying on one platform or a couple of platforms. Yeah, so like as I said, when we used to work with PewDiePie, he was already like ahead of the curve where he knew that deplatform or demonetization will happen continuously, and he was early enough to work with us in 2018, 2019 to do the streams where he earned almost the same amount of money as he would on YouTube, but with a much higher like ownership of himself. And we still continuously work with a lot of creators at this point as well and exploring different options with them. But yeah, I think it's just like really, really interesting, right?
That's a great answer. That's a great answer because put the power back to the creator. You know, that's all Web3 ethos anyways. You know, everyone
Right.
gets to own their own content, right? So I love it.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, I guess the last question is, when is PewDiePie gonna, you know, wear a cyber t-shirt and can we get him on his podcast? You know, it'd be great to talk Web3 PewDiePie. He's like in Japan somewhere, right? We can't even find him.
Right, he is. Well, I haven't worked with him for like closely for a bit, but he is definitely interested in a lot of stuff that's going on, right? Like, as a matter of fact, we need more clear picture around the product that we built, around the policies that we have, and around how can we protect users at the same time at the same time as the technology advances, right? Like we've seen last wave of NFTs, like celebrity NFTs, be massively flopped, and we don't want that to happen again and again. And having clear framework on what are what does success look like, and that's not really hurting their audiences, will be like the prerequisite of onboarding the major players in the creator world. But I'm still very optimistic about it.
Nice. Well, we're glad you're tackling it, not us, because we're just creating.
Yep.
Well, Ryan, awesome. It's been amazing having you on. In 3 years' time alone, you guys have, done really well and has a lot of interesting use cases. And we look forward to, how this conversation is going to be down the road. Is there anything that you want to, um, let the audience know about that's coming up, or do you want the audience to find you? Please let us. Please let everyone know.
Yeah, so one thing that's coming up, we are launching Social Summer this year. It's a part of the Superchains Social Summer. We will be joined by OP team and a lot of other Superchain teams together to launch a 6-week campaign where users will be able to learn more about one, what is social on Web3, two, like what does Web3 look like within the superchain. It's not just like one chain on its own. It's like an ecosystem of all the different apps and the best builders, best creators, all living in this one big superchain world. And it's going to be 6 weeks. We will collaborate with 36 projects, and every project we collaborate with, there will be a lot to learn about them. And also the way for the users to engage will be, we have NFTs specifically designed for every project that we work with by an artist that we work with. And that will showcase what does it look like to a couple years down the line. What would Web3 look like? Especially what would Web3 social look like for users on Cyber? So I think if you are interested in NFTs, or if you're interested in Web3 consumer apps or Web3 social specifically, please stay tuned on that. The best way to find more information is to follow us on Twitter. It's Build on Cyber. You can find the latest about everything cyber related there.
Cool. I love it. I didn't hear about it. Thanks for bringing that update up. We'll put all the links down below, and hopefully they can find you there as well through those social links if you want to be found, that is.
Yep. You can. Anyone can find me at Ryan Lee _ on Twitter as well.
Cool. Is that underscore meow you said?
Ryan Lee _ me. M-E.
Me. Okay. I don't know. Been looking at too many cat memes, I think. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan, for jumping on. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brian, for inviting me. Well, we look forward to inviting both of you on Cyber as a creator too. Hopefully we can make that happen very soon.
For sure.
All right.